1 month ago, I found out that my wife's male best friend was actually her former friend with benefits. And that has enraged me to no end. Not just because they had that kind of past, but because she kept it a secret from me for all these years. To make matters worse, my sister, who is also my wife's best friend, knew about it and never told me. When we started dating 18 years ago, we agreed to cut all ties with our exes. Now I've learned that she's been lying to me about that for years. After finding out last month, I spoke to a lawyer and told my wife we were getting a divorce. Nothing she says or does now will change that. I also took a DNA test for my daughter and twin boys and have gone no contact with my sister. Some might say I'm taking things too far, especially with the DNA test, but there's a reason for it. Her friend with benefits and I look strikingly similar. We're both 6 feet tall, have blonde hair and blue eyes. Until now, I never questioned whether my kids were mine. But after learning about her past with him, I can't help but feel paranoid. On top of that, her friend with benefits never got married because he claimed to have a free soul. It makes me feel like she just settled for me, and if he had ever decided he wanted marriage, she would have left me in an instant. The only silver lining in all of this is that the house we live in is in my name. I inherited it from my grandpa before we got married. For now, I've kicked my wife out of the house and taken her to her parents' place, where I told them exactly why we're getting divorced. I also told my kids because I believe they're old enough to know the truth. Since then, my wife has been calling me constantly, crying and swearing that they were just friends, but I don't believe her. I made it clear that even if the DNA test confirms all 3 kids are mine, I will still go through with the divorce. From what I hear from my brother-in-law who lives near her parents, she's a complete wreck and barely eats anything. My sister has also tried to reach out to me through her husband, but I told them I don't consider her my sister anymore after wasting 18 years of my life. Honestly, if the DNA test comes back negative, I don't know what I would do. I love my kids more than anything in this world, and finding out that even one of them isn't mine would break me more than anything else. Top comments. Somebody said, "To me, this all hinges on the fact that you agreed to cut ties with exes. She agreed to it as well, and then she didn't. She kept him around after agreeing to cut ties, and she spent 18 years lying to you about him. That has 2 implications. 1, he's more important to her than is appropriate, more important than her agreements with you, apparently. And 2, she's willing to deceive you pervasively. Her word is now worth nothing in your ears. Given how much she's lied to you about him already, why should you believe her when she insists they're just friends?" Somebody said, "Exactly this, the people saying, 'Dude, seek therapy and try to work through this. That's a lot to throw away.' And that's a long time of being lied to with others supporting her lie. They are just not getting it. She is a fully grown adult woman and has a strange bond with a man who is not her husband to a degree of lying for him, in tandem with other family members. Others need to stop putting cushions under things. This is a rather disgusting thing." Update 1 day later. First, I want to make some things clear. I didn't kick her out of the house like some crazy person. I asked for space and she accepted. I then drove her to her parents' place, which is a little over an hour away by car. The idea of cutting ties with exes was hers. When she said exes, she meant people like my childhood friend, who I only dated for a month in high school, but somehow not her friend with benefits, with whom she had a sensual relationship for who knows how long. Yes, cutting him off would have probably cost her half of her friend group, but the same thing happened to me when I cut ties with my childhood friend because of her boundaries. If she didn't want to lose friends over this, she shouldn't have been the one to suggest cutting ties with exes then. I explained the reason for our separation to our children. She lied about something important, and I was upset. I told them that I wanted us to take some time apart for now. The house isn't about money. It's about the sentimental value. It holds memories of my grandparents and childhood, and it's where I've made so many memories with my kids. That's why I consulted with a lawyer about the house first. I would still need to pay at least $100K to my wife for the house, but I'm okay with that. I asked her about her relationship with that guy 2 or 3 times early in our relationship. She always assured me that they were just friends, but I felt insecure and asked my sister, who knew them for 4 or 5 years. She told me their relationship was like that of a brother and sister, so I chose to believe her big mistake. The friend with benefits was never someone who would settle down and have a family. For as long as I've known him, he's always been traveling, doing dangerous things and chasing thrills. That's why I feel like I was the safe choice for her. The fact that she kept their relationship a secret from me for 18 years only makes me think I'm right. The results of the DNA test don't matter. They will always be my children. Even if the results come back positive, I still want to proceed with the divorce. However, I should at least try 3 to 6 months of couples therapy, if not for myself, then at least for the kids. About the test results, I'll wait for my best friend before looking at the results so I have someone for support. I'll post a small update in the comments once I look at them. Update? So yeah, I don't really know how to start this, but my kids are mine by blood and soul. I can't even begin to describe the mix of happiness, sadness, and guilt I feel right now. But I wanted to give you all an update since you've helped keep my mind occupied and not let my thoughts spiral down into a dark place, so thank you all. So, about an hour and a half ago, my best friend, who I've known for as long as I can remember, drove nearly 3 hours to be with me and help me through this. After he arrived, we had a beer or two and I told him everything. He just listened, letting me get it all out and reassured me that he'd be there for me no matter what. After about 10 minutes, I finally gathered the courage to look at the test results and completely broke down. I collapsed into a crying mess. When I finally calmed down, we started talking about what I should do next. Should I try to save my marriage for the sake of the kids? Would that even be the right thing to do? That's when my friend shared something from his own past. When he was young, one of his parents cheated, but they still stayed together for the kids. And he told me without hesitation that it was the worst thing they could have done. He spent years wishing they had just divorced instead of forcing everyone to live in that kind of broken relationship. His words, along with some of the private messages I've received, really hit me. So I've decided not to try to save the marriage. I will go forward with the divorce. But I also want to make sure that even after it's over, we can still work together for the best interests of our children. That's why I'll be going to both individual and couples therapy, so that we can learn how to co-parent in the healthiest way possible. I also am looking for a good therapist for my 3 children, so that they can begin to heal as soon as possible. Top comments. Yeah, that to me is the worst part. She prompted him to sacrifice his past and walk away from it completely, which he did, and then she wasn't willing to do the same thing, and then brought his sister into the conspiracy. I'm all about reconciliation, but that's too fundamental of a lie. And too long of one. I'd never, ever be able to trust her again. The rules for thee, not for me, is the biggest part of this for me also. Causing a cut off of a significant part of your previous friend group, with her being the one to initiate it all, plus the blatant double standard smacks of serious control issues to me. Endgame for me. Update 5 days later. I wanted to post one final update on what's been happening after I talked with my wife when she got back from her parents. As you can see from the title, I've made up my mind to give her a second chance. After going through her current phone and her old phone from about 12 years ago, we had a long conversation where I asked her why she made me cut off my exes while she still kept her former friend with benefits. Turns out her first long-term boyfriend of 3 years had cheated on her with a mutual friend, which made her deeply insecure about her future partners having female friends, especially exes. From the time we started dating until I made our relationship official after about 5 or 6 months, she was struggling with those insecurities. When I asked her to make our relationship official and get engaged, she had a conversation with my sister who suggested that we both cut off our exes. My wife agreed, but my sister convinced her that the friend with benefits didn't count as an ex because they had only slept together twice during a trip to Europe with some friends. Later, my wife regretted lying to me and wanted to tell me about her past with him, but my sister stopped her. She told my wife that bringing it up would only cause unnecessary stress and could even put her pregnancy at risk. Because of that, my wife decided not to tell me, but tried to distance herself from him instead. Eventually, she planned to cut him off completely without me ever knowing. However, my sister had other plans. She had a crush on the friend with benefits' close friend, and really liked that friend group. She knew that if my wife distanced herself, it would inevitably break up the group. So she pressured my wife into going to meetups where the friend with benefits would be, sometimes lying to her about who would be there. Another possible reason my sister did this was that she herself wanted to keep seeing her own friend with benefits while being in a relationship and didn't want to feel guilty about it. That's the only explanation I can think of. I also asked my wife if she would take a polygraph test to prove she never cheated on me, and she agreed immediately without a second of hesitation. So, we're going to try to save this marriage, starting with marriage counseling and other steps to rebuild trust. But first, she has to completely cut off that friend group and block my sister from everything. And to address some of the private messages I've been getting, no, I'm not an abuser, nor have I financially abused my wife. She has been working since our twin boys turned 2, and my mother moved in with us to help care for them while we both worked. And no, I'm not just looking for an excuse to leave this marriage because of some midlife crisis. I love my wife and my children, and not being away from them for weeks or months would be heartbreaking. Top comments. Somebody said, people delete incriminating messages in real time. This proof is flaky. Make sure she completely cuts these people off. Stay vigilant. She needs to work to earn the trust back. Another commenter, do you believe what she says about your sister? Has she corroborated what your wife says? Also, lie detector tests, if you're actually freaking serious about that, aren't admissible in court for a reason. Original poster replied, I mean, it's not that I actually believe in lie detector tests. After reading about them and hearing what others have said, I learned they aren't as reliable as I thought. Honestly, I didn't even know they were real. I always assumed they were just something from TV and movies. But like someone mentioned in my last post, I should at least see how serious she is about taking one. And she really did seem like she wanted to do it, like she was eager to prove to me that she truly hasn't cheated. Somebody said, why was your sister's pressure to remain quiet about her former friend with benefits and to keep up with this friend group more important than you? Hope this all works out for you, but it definitely seems like at minimum, your wife is too much of a people pleaser for everyone outside of your marriage, and at worst is just blaming everything on others, primarily your sister, and not taking any accountability. Original poster replied, well, after spending 18 years with her and seeing those messages, I can say with certainty that it's the former.
See, I know the title sounds wrong, but please, hear me out. I'm currently typing this all up while my husband's entire family is sitting downstairs. So I, 29, have been married to my husband for 8 years. About 2 months ago, I had my third miscarriage, 31 weeks. I won't be talking about it because it makes me feel so depressed, but you'll need to remember this. About 4 months ago, my sister-in-law, 20, came crying at our doorstep telling us she's pregnant and her boyfriend didn't want anything to do with the pregnancy and had nowhere to go. My husband and I openly took her in, welcomed her into our home with open arms. For the first few weeks, it was really hard for her, understandably. I sat with her for hours, holding her when she cried, binging our favorite TV shows, eating so much ice cream we quite literally fell into a coma. It was really bonding for us, so I thought. Here's where it starts going downhill. I take pride in my neat, clean home. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, did not. She would leave her clothes all around the house, leave her dirty dishes wherever, even went as far and left her adult toys on our living room table. I tried to talk to her directly before I talked to my husband. She immediately started crying and told me I should try to be cleaner. I hugged her, told her it was okay, but this is a clear boundary for me. She told me it wouldn't happen again, but it only got worse. She told me I was expected to do her laundry, dishes, and clean her room daily because she's pregnant one. Well, I do understand how hard it is being pregnant. I just couldn't allow myself to feel like a maid in my own home. Disclaimer: I bought this house, not my husband. It was all me. Not to mention my recent loss of my child. So I told my husband, but what he told me shocked me. His exact words were, "Honey, she's going through a lot right now. We really should be helping her out. Plus, it might make you feel better to take care of someone who's pregnant." I was pissed, to say the least. Make me feel better? She's going through a lot? Do we need to help her? Letting her stay with us wasn't enough? While I don't want to invalidate her pain, my husband and I were also going through our own problems. Anyways, we moved on. I did my best to maintain work and the household chores. My husband works 7 a.m., 7 p.m., so he isn't around to help much. I work full-time from home, so it's been super stressful. When I even try to ask for help from my sister-in-law, she always makes excuses, even if she's just watching TV. The one thing that pushed me over the edge was I went out to buy my one food that I have actually enjoyed eating after my miscarriage. I wrote my name on it and directly asked my sister-in-law to not eat it. Well, I went to go to my fridge to get it, and you'll never guess. She freaking ate it. Now you may think, it's just food. I buy all the groceries, basically pay all the bills. I don't mind people having some of my food, but the one thing I ask to not be touched gets touched. I told my husband, and of course he rubbed it into my face that she's pregnant. I need to be less selfish, and life is about sacrifices. I was so upset, I told him I felt like he and her were the horrible roommates people talk about on Reddit. He didn't take that well, lol. Which leads us to my title. My sister-in-law planned a random baby shower party thing at my house. I personally didn't know if I could even be home when this was happening. I felt so hurt that she wouldn't talk to me knowing everything that has happened and that she would just invite random strangers into another person's home before asking. My husband urged me to go, told him it would permanently affect mine and her relationship. So, I told him I'd go. About halfway through the party, my husband and sister-in-law announced that they wanted to show the nursery to everyone. I was confused. Nursery? She was staying that long? What room did she turn into a nursery? They told everyone to head upstairs. That's when it hit me. They were talking about my nursery, for my baby I had just lost. A wave of emotions hit me when I saw everyone in my baby's nursery telling her what a good job they did setting it up. My setup. For my baby that my body failed to give me. I just lost it. I started sobbing, then that sadness turned into pure rage. I started yelling at my sister-in-law, telling her Rizomber, she's the foulest human for putting me through everything she has for the last few months, making me feel like I was a maid or an object for her convenience. Through choked-up tears, I turned to my husband whose jaw was on the floor. I turned my head to see his entire family just staring at me. I lost it again. Yelling, I looked at my sister-in-law telling her, how dare she use my nursery for my baby, how dare she think she has the right. What she told me made me fall to my knees sobbing. It's not my fault you couldn't produce a child. Why let this go to waste? You're so selfish. My husband tried to pick me up off the floor, but I yelled again, standing to my knees which were now shaking. I told him, pick. A dumbfounded look on his face. I yelled again, pick, me or her. He couldn't even muster up anything to say. I just looked at him, pure butyral. I pushed past the crowd of family and ran straight up here to type this out. Even if no one sees this, at least it's helped me let these emotions out. Now's the point where I ask, am I the asshole? Update. Sorry for any typos or misspelt words. I'm not quite sure if this is the proper way to do an update, but hopefully everyone can see it. First, I just want to address a few comments. You can skip this part if you don't care, lol. I know I had a stillborn. The only reason I say miscarriage is because that is what my obstetrician told me was happening. Second off, some people have been saying this story is fake because of the way I described the argument, falling to my knees, pure betrayal. Yes, I figured out I spelt it wrong. I can assure you it is not. I cannot make anyone believe me, but this is my life, so you can either think it's fake or not. Here's the update everyone's been asking for. Buckled up, it's a long one. After posting my story on Reddit, I sat on my bed, wiping my tears, and telling myself I will not take this disrespect. I walked downstairs, shutting my nursery door on the way. I was greeted with everyone comforting my sister-in-law. I kindly asked everyone besides my sister-in-law and husband to respectfully get the heck out of my house. After all the dirty looks and shaming, it was just my husband, sister-in-law, and myself. They set themselves on the couch, not saying anything. I sat with them. The silence felt like forever. None of us had anything to say. I knew I'd have to start the conversation. I looked at my husband and said, "Did you decide?" He looked at me just staring. I asked again in a firm tone this time. He ended up mumbling some sort of insult, and I couldn't really make out what he said. Something puss. I stood up and told them both to get out, then they wanted to talk, telling me this is all a misunderstanding, they're sorry, blah blah blah. I grabbed a backpack from my shoe closet and told them to pack their crap. My sister-in-law told me I couldn't just make her leave, and I was a horrible person. I laughed in her face and told her this is my house and I can do whatever I want. My husband stood next to me and told her it was only for a little while. I turned to him and said, "Oh, you too, get out." He got all mad and told me we were a married couple and that this isn't how marriage works. I told him, No, it is not. Marriage is where two people support each other and not treat their wife like hell. They both ended up leaving after many insults towards me. Oh, but wait, it's not over. This morning, as I was getting ready for a Zoom meeting with a few other coworkers, when my husband showed up, I let him in, telling him to get whatever he needed and to go because I had to work. He started apologizing and telling me he wants to make it right. I told him I just needed time away from him. Then he threw in my face, "Well, it's not my fault you lost our children. Maybe this would have never happened. My sister was right, you are selfish." I have never ever made my husband feel like he cannot grieve with me over this. Never made him feel less than because of his pain. I turned around and slapped him in the face. I never condone violence, and I'm very upset I would ever do that to another human. But I just couldn't deal with this. He took a step back and then threw all of my makeup on the floor, which I get, but then he started breaking all of my decor in my bathroom. I yelled at him to stop and that I was sorry, but he just kept going. Even going as far as punching a hole in my bathroom wall. It was like I was seeing all of his bottled up emotions from our children's death come out. But he went too far when he tried to grab me, yelling in my face. I kicked him off and told him to get the heck out. He walked out of the bathroom, and I watched him break a few more items as he left. The second he left, I had a panic attack, looking at the mess he made, to even just seeing how much he hid his pain. I called my mother and told her everything that has been happening. I don't talk to my family much due to some past trauma with them. She told me she was on her way. The second she got here, I just broke down and she held me. Then she stood up and started taking pictures of everything he broke. I asked her what she was doing, and she turned to me and said, "We're suing this crap." I honestly didn't even argue. I was so hurt by everything my husband did to me. My mom packed up my computer and I grabbed a few outfits. My mom and I drove to a hotel, and she insisted on staying with me. While I finished up work, my mom called a locksmith and my attorney. I will be divorcing him as well. So, there it is. Here's the update everyone has been waiting for. I feel guilty for just giving up on my husband in 8 years of our marriage, but it's time for a divorce. I can't live like this, and neither can my husband. I wish I could say we moved on, forgave each other, and I got to see my sister-in-law have her baby. But that's not reality. If anything else happens, I will let you all know. Thank you guys for the support and help with this situation.